Hey guys, welcome to another episode on TFB TV. Today we are here on a place called Chicken Street, otherwise known as Kuche Mora in Kabul, which is in Sharjah now. And this is famous because there's a lot of antique dealers here, there's a lot of old stuff dealers here, there's just a lot of old shops here that sell mostly peddling to tourists and that kind of thing, and things that are really old here, and this street is kind of known for this. So before we get off, I want to thank Ventura Munitions real quick. Thanks a lot for the support of the channel and for allowing us to shoot this kinds of stuff and for the equipment and that kind of thing. I'd also really like to thank the shopkeeper here who would like to stay off camera during the shooting of this. I'd like to thank him a lot for helping us out with this episode and opening up his shop to some of the interesting small arms that are available here. So, talking about it now on the antique market, right, in Afghanistan, there's a couple different variants of it. Mainly you have a lot of the Seattle funks that we talked about before. Interestingly, there's actually two versions that are sold. There's actually a copy version that's a modern day thing. Some of them are not even, most of them are not even functional, which they're used to literally just hang up on walls. The other ones are, very real, legitimate, old ones that you saw in the previous one that I had earlier. That was an actual model from the 1800s. Interesting there. This is actually a copy. 100% copy. It's sold as a copy. It's not trying to be sold as an original or anything. This is literally for someone who just wants, a cheaper version of these. You can tell it's a copy because the wood is brand spanking new. I mean, there's no weather in here at all. You can even see, the recent chip marks in it where it was recently made. It has all the aspects that we saw from before. The odd sling swivel, right by here. The lack of a trigger guard, which is right over here. It functions, and there's the flash pan. And here's the trigger. Oh, there it goes. But it's not. It functions just to the point of looking nice. This is not something that you'd want to shoot at all. It'll probably blow up in your face. So this is 200 US. 200 US. Visit Chicken Street, and this can be yours, with an octagonal barrel as well. Next up is a British brown Bess. This is what British soldiers would have carried at during the American Revolution. This is what they would have carried in that disastrous 1842 retreat from Kabul to Jalalabad. The British used this for about 100 years. That's an extremely long service life. The M16 is about to reach this as well. Funny to think about. But anyways, this is a brown Bess. Smoothbore musket, no sights, no rear sight. There's a front sight, but that's about it. It's very beefy in the hands. This thing, there are a number of different versions made. There was an Indian pattern made that the East India Company used. There was, I think, artillery versions made. There was cavalry versions. What I mean by artillery is they simply shortened it a lot because they wanted artillery crews to be able to use it. So the lock is over here, flash pan, and this is functional, and for all intents and purposes, this appears to be an original. Although I am not a brown Bess expert, I would not know. $350, and this old brown Bess could be yours if you come to Kabul. Alright, so, brown Bess, interesting piece. So, do you remember when I was talking about the brown Bess having different versions? Well, the one I showed you previously had a flintlock, right? This is still a brown Bess, but it's percussion. And there's the lock over here. The British upgraded this sometime after, definitely after the 1842 retreat. They would not have been using these in Kabul around that time, definitely later. Upgraded a number of different things. You can tell there's a sort of piece right here where you can put your hand on while you're holding it. In addition, they actually put a rear sight on it right here. Very rudimentary rear sight. Can't do much with it at all. You still have a smoothbore musket though. It still works. We got half cock and then full cock over here. And then boom. So next up we have a pattern 1853, which the British started going to rifling, and this guy seems in good condition. I think the stock is varnished. You can tell, percussion cap still going in place. The date on here is 1861. Tower rifle. British proof marks are here as well. This bad boy goes for $500, 500 US, and you can pay for it in cash here on Chicken Street. Alright guys, so next up we have a pattern 1853 cavalry carbine, and these are kind of cool. Like, I picked one up just now and handling it, these were designed for dudes on horses, and they had this sweet nifty, 1-point adapter where you can actually sling it on your horse and then have it sitting right there so it wouldn't jump out. In addition to the sling swivels, which are right here and right here, but the whole thing is, a sweet little tactical piece if you can think about it. But so another neat feature about this is the ramrod is actually captive to the rifle. So you pull the ramrod out, right? And then you can use it just like this. Boom. And then load your powder and load your ball in here. And then bring it back in and then put it right here. And then you have your percussion and it's a rifle bore. Then you can fire it like that. It has the rear sight, very rudimentary rear sight, I might add. Looks like it could break if it can, but looks like for 100, 200, and 300 yards or meters at that time. But overall, just a really nice little piece right here. So this one is 300 US. If you want to come here and buy it, 300 US for a sweet little carbine here. And then next up in the line of progression here, this is when the British start going to case cartridges, self-contained metallic cartridges, right? With the Snider rifle bore, percussion cap, but it's not percussion. All this does is it simply fires the round that's inside here. It fires a traditional metallic cartridge case. This is sort of the age of breech loading, when the British start getting into breech loading rifles. We had the same thing in America with the 1873 trapdoor Springfield. How it works is you simply pop the hammer open to the rear, and if I can get this open... Alright, this thing's a little bit rusty here, but there's a little lever on this side, and you pop this open, and then now you have an open area in which you can put your cartridge in. You would put your cartridge in over here, slide it to the very front, lock it, and you can tell there's a firing pin hole on this side, and then you lock it, and then when you fire it, you're actually pressing down on this little cap here, which presses down on the primer in the cartridge. So fire it, half cock, bang, and then it goes off. Interestingly, so this is a British Enfield, right? It's got British proof markings and everything on it. But interestingly, these were actually made here in Kabul as well, at the Martini Henry, which we've talked about in previous episodes as well, if you want to see more about that. But so Afghans actually used this in the 1800s, in addition to Martini Henrys. Martini Henrys were mostly produced at the Martini Henry, but this was also produced there as well, a little known fact here. Guys here run for about $400 US on the market here. Alright, so coming to sort of at the end of our design progression, now we're at the Martini Henry, right? In 45 caliber, I think it's .455 if I'm not mistaken. But these run about $300 here. This particular Martini that is for sale at the shop here is kind of neat because it has some interesting trigger work that was done to have a little grip on the trigger. The lever doesn't appear to stay shut, but it's probably fine, so we can fire it. There it goes. In addition, on the inside of it, it has this interesting description. It says John Muhammad, right? It says John Muhammad here, probably one of the previous user of it as well. And this is an English LSA, London Small Arms Company, I think. It has a date of 1883 on it. Interesting note, just like with the Schneiders, these are also made here in Kabul at the time of Abdul Rahman Khan and the Percussion, which is mostly what they produced at the turn of the century. Still very relevant to our time period, but this is sort of the end of the antique market here. So after talking about the legitimate Martini Henry, now we have something called a cadet Martini Henry. This guy is something like in 22 long rifle, and these are made for cadets, school kids who were probably practicing, sort of like the JROTC programs, but back in the 1800s. And the manual of arms is the exact same as a Martini Henry, similar sights. The trigger's in the same location. Everything's in the same exact location, except that the caliber is scaled down and the rifle overall is scaled down and it's much smaller. This one is apparently made in Belgium. You cock it with this lever right here, and then the firing pin actually, instead of being an exposed sear sort of setup on the outside, like a standard Martini Henry, you've got a firing pin that's exposed right here on that pop side. And so when you fire it, this goes down and that shows you if it's loaded or not. You can tell by looking at the bore, it's only about 22 caliber. In addition, it's made in Belgium by a company named Francot or something. Neat little piece, very small, very light, great for teenagers to run around with on a parade ground and shoot. So this one is going for $400 US. Hey, thanks guys, I really appreciate you watching the episode. If you could like and subscribe below, that'd be great. I hope you learned a little bit about some of the gun shops on Chicken Street today.